Here's Johnny. Straight up, that's seriously what's going on in this chapter. Except it's not Jack Nicholson, it's Keith. I kind of wish this is a scene from The Shining, but it's not. Anyway, Yeon Woo dear, who the hell doesn't check the door before opening? I mean, there's the hole there for a reason. You're supposed to use it, so you don't just open the door to random strangers, right? Anyway, before we get started, I just want to remind our viewers that if you like seeing more yaoi content and would like to support this channel, please don't forget to smash that like button. Also, if you haven't done so, please subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. Feel free to leave me a message in my social media at ZEALED FUJOSHI, which I'll be using to interact with viewers about more yaoi content. If that's something that interests you, feel free to follow me at ZEALED FUJOSHI. Finally, this episode will contain explicit content and a lot of manhwa spoilers. With that in mind, please proceed with caution. You have been warned. Now, without further ado, let's jump into chapter 39 of Kiss Me Liar. So, Yeon Woo is currently pregnant, and he didn't tell Keith he is the father. Keith wants to take care of Yeon Woo and the kid even before he found out that he was a father, because he wants Yeon Woo to be his. But Yeon Woo has other plans for Keith. He drugged Keith and told him before he lost consciousness that he is the father of the child that he is carrying, and that Yeon Woo was the omega that marked Keith, meaning Keith cannot have sex with other omegas from that point on. Then Yeon Woo fled and hid because he wanted to abort the baby to punish Keith. And in return, Keith put a bounty on Yeon Woo's head that how whoever finds Yeon Woo will be given a huge amount of money, like winning the Powerball. So, as of right now, Yeon Woo is living with a hot firefighter named DANE, who helped him by the orders of Yeon Woo's friend Josh. So far, that's the latest happening in this series. And on the note of that fireman, I'm smiling because I really thought that DANE is seriously going to show up with caramel pudding, but instead we got Keith. I am currently shipping DANE and Yeon Woo, and it's sailing pretty hard. DANE and Yeon Woo can just act like they're the parents of this child. Like, DANE can just literally just adopt this baby and become a couple. I'm picking up some lovey-dovey vibes from DANE in this chapter, and I kind of feel like the author could have just made DANE and Yeon Woo the original couple and just made Yeon Woo dump Keith and go after DANE forever. I think that would have been a very good plot for this series. But, you know, Yeon Woo ending up with Keith is, you know, honestly one of the reasons why a lot of us are still reading this series. It's so upsetting to read, but it is also so addicting to read. I seriously think that we all read this series just to piss ourselves nowadays. And compared to the other yaois that most of us read, This uke is definitely not that big of a pushover. The amount of times that we've seen Yeon Woo revolt is so impressive. But in the end, I think we all know that it's going to be Keith and Yeon Woo. But don't get me wrong, I don't want this to happen, but it's so obvious that the author was gonna go towards this route because of the build up, right? We kind of feel that the end game is Keith and Yeon Woo. And I can be happy with this story even if I hate Keith. I'm happy for them because I know that Yeon Woo is happy. Because let's not forget that Yeon Woo is infatuated, even in love with Keith. And in the past couple of chapters, we can also see that Keith also is in love with Yeon Woo. But, for me to ship DANE, I don't even know his personality. I know that I really shouldn't ship Yeon Woo with DANE, but he is so freaking hot. I focus sometimes too much on appearances. And I know that I'm all wide awake, but I do admit that DANE is looking finer than Keith. But I also know to myself that I shouldn't trust Yeon Woo to DANE yet. And it makes me laugh because I can ship guys so quickly. I really hated Keith at the start of the series. He was the trashiest of trash garbage dumpster that has ever lived. Keith had too much pride to admit that I think he just couldn't get a boner with anyone else besides Yeon Woo. Not to mention Yeon Woo, ever since Keith fricked Yeon Woo up, I think he couldn't frick anyone else, to be honest. Yes, I do know that he did rape Yeon Woo because he didn't really ask for consent. And in some parts of those scenes, though, we know that Yeon Woo also went along with Keith on those scenes. So you sometimes don't need words to give consent. To be honest, I've seen worse shit in Yaoi, but I really should stop thinking like rape all the time, because I think on some of those scenes it was pretty consensual because of Yeon Woo's reaction to it. And I have to keep reminding myself, and to some of you listeners too, that this show is a slow development of Keith's personality. It's something to get used to, the slowness of the series. Of course, I hope that Keith suffers for the things that he did to Yeon Woo, especially getting Yeon Woo's hopes up, and he does not give any boundaries to Yeon Woo. But life isn't all lovey-dovey all the time. There's always one or maybe more flaws in a relationship. Let's not forget that Yeon Woo also made some mistakes because he was expecting that he was dating Keith. And I felt so freaking bad because, Keith knew that wasn't what he was after. Like, he was really vocal about his, nature. And don't get me wrong, I'm not siding with anyone except Yeon Woo. But I think a lot of you need to remember that, you know, they each have their own faults in the series. I know someone's gonna yell at me saying, oh, but he was raped. Yes, I know. I mentioned that already, and I'm not happy with it either. But, you know, it's such a gray area. And, you know, I don't agree normalizing rape in other boys' love. I know, though, that all of you are not innocent. You know, we should not normalize this shit. But I also believe that Keith should get the consequences on how harsh he was on the series. If anyone knows or read all the raw chapters, let me know if Keith will finally suffer, because I'm pretty sure he will suffer for the most part. And I'm so happy that Yeon Woo decided to keep the baby. That baby should see the world, even if it's sprinkled with dirt. Once again, you know, let's not forget that whatever is the decision for the baby, it's Yeon Woo's body, so it's Yeon Woo's choice. I don't think any one of us has any say on it, regardless of how that baby was conceived. And, you know, we're all just readers who will give our own criticism and opinions. And don't forget, guys, there's a reason that this series is called Kiss Me Liar. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed today's episode. Please don't forget to follow my social media to be teased about some of the boys' love that I'm interested in. Feel free to leave me a message and converse with me in my Discord channel. I'd love to hear back from you. And please consider supporting the show by donating as little as 99 cents through www.sealedfujoshi.xyz. Also, don't forget to support the author. All the manhwa details can be found in the description below. Again, thank you so much and hope to see you next time.